Building a 1,000-yard rifle for $1,000 is no easy feat. Building one for $500, which is our challenge, is just a little bit nutty. And bear in mind that this is not a theoretical 1,000 yards. We are actually going to be competing with this rifle in a 600-yard match and a 1,000-yard match over at Tulsa's Red Castle Gun Club. Adding to the difficulty of this build, I won't be going out and trying to find bargains on used parts. I'm not going to go find some Target action that someone's trying to get rid of. This is all going to be off-the-rack stuff that you can buy in your local sporting goods store, the optics you may be able to find on Amazon.com, that sort of thing. This is all stuff that you can buy and build. Now, fortunately, we have 4 excellent deer rifles that we can choose from at this point. First, there's the Savage Axis, and kind of its Part B, the Axis 2. You have the Mossberg Patriot, there's the Ruger American, and then there's the Remington 783. All of these are known to be very accurate, and really they're all based off the Savage Axis. They all have kind of the same barrel profile, they all attach to the action via the barrel nut, and most of them have a version of the AccuTrigger. The base model Savage Axis does not, but the Axis 2 does, and everybody else has some kind of variant of the AccuTrigger. So, what did I end up getting? Let's just get right down to it. This is the bog standard Savage Axis. This is not the Axis 2, so it does not have that nice AccuTrigger. Now, the reason that I went with this is largely because of money. If we're going to build an entire rifle, including optics, base, and with all of these, all of them have a plastic stock that needs to be thrown out, so we have to get some kind of laminate stock. In order to make that budget of $500, I had to go with one of the cheaper options. There were some that included scopes that I didn't really want, that sort of thing, so the packages didn't really work out for me. But this Axis is going to work very well, actually, I believe. The other rifles I mentioned all owe their existence to the Savage Axis. They are all essentially clones, especially once you take a look at how these are designed. You start with a sporter weight barrel, which is going to be standard anywhere, but it's attached to a simple kind of tubular action via this, a barrel nut. This makes head spacing much more precise and much easier to do, and you get a lot of cast parts like this bolt handle. The detachable magazine includes some plastic and some metal parts. The worst feature on all of these rifles is the plastic stock. I'm sure they're perfectly comfortable and capable when it comes to hunting, if you're taking offhand shots or kneeling or whatever, but when it comes to the prone, these stocks are terrible. First off, they're all pretty flexible, so you can actually move the forearm until it touches the barrel quite easily. Another big detraction is the ambidextrous nature of these stocks. These are meant to be easy to make and to easily conform to right-handed or left-handed shooters alike. So what they do is they just kind of drop the comb here so that it pretty well fits everybody's faces, and it works pretty well. But especially for a prone competition rifle, you want cast off and you want cant. You want this thing fitted specifically to you. To me, the biggest ergonomic problem is right here. This is going to be a fine stock for hunting. You can easily get your thumb over the top to hit the safety. It's also going to work well if you're taking offhand shots, especially if you're leaning forward. But this is going to be terrible if you're in the prone position. This is really going to kink your wrist up. What you want is a much more vertical grip. Those of you that have shot AR-15s or other kind of modern semi-automatic rifles, you know how comfortable that more vertical hand grip is, especially when you're in the prone. And this is going to help us to relieve a lot of tension when we're shooting in the match. We won't have our wrists all bound up, and there won't be any discomfort. I will put together a full evaluation video of the Savage Axis so we can take a look at its advantages and disadvantages. But for now, the big one I think is just going to be the trigger. The trigger is abominable. It's awful. It's so heavy that I keep checking myself to see if the safety is actually on. It's that heavy. And then once it actually starts moving, it just kind of grinds and grinds and then finally snaps. It is a terrible, terrible trigger. Aside from that, though, I think this is going to be a good platform. Just fix up the trigger, throw out the stock, which is what I would do with any of the other rifles anyway, and I think we should be in good shape. Aside from the quality of the barrels, the barrel nut that allows precise head spacing, and some pretty good bedding, despite the fact that these are plastic stocks, one of the big reasons why all the rifles that I've mentioned are accurate probably comes down to this right here, the floating bolt head. This allows the locking lugs to stay flush, to stay true to the cutouts here in the action, even if the barrel moves or the bolt moves around a little bit. And it can move a bit as the trigger is pulled, or just with gravity as you're taking a shot. Gravity can pull the back of the bolt down, and it can change spacing within the chamber area. So this floating bolt head makes sure that nothing really moves around in the chamber, that the lugs are always flush, and the bolt face is always nicely spaced within the chamber. One of the reasons I did not choose the Ruger American is that the other rifles, the Remington, the Mossberg, the Savage, all of them have this floating bolt head. The Ruger American does not. It's all a one-piece solid bolt. And that puts it at a slight disadvantage against these others. As I was narrowing down the list of rifles to come up with my final selection, I took a look at the Boyds selection of rifle stocks. And one of the things that disqualified the Remington 783 for me is that it only had hunter-style stocks in laminate. Now, any laminate stock that's well built is going to be nice and sturdy, and it's going to be plenty accurate. But because of that grip angle that I mentioned before, I decided to discard the 783 from the list. The Axis, on the other hand, has a wonderful varmint stock available, and it comes with two different barrel channels that you can choose. Since I'm going to stick with this barrel profile, I can't replace the barrel for the prices that we're working with, they will cut a Sporter profile barrel channel in that stock, but you can also ask for a thicker kind of varmint cutout, so you can go with larger barrels. Converting this Savage Axis into a decent competition rifle is not going to be easy. It's going to take a lot of steps, so make sure that you don't miss out on any of the videos. You can subscribe to the Social Regressive here. If you like us on Facebook, then you'll be able to see some of the behind-the-scenes footage and maybe get sneak peeks of next week's videos. And then finally, this playlist is going to have everything in it. So if you just click on here and you want to find a particular part of this video series, you can skip around.